Our idea about DevOps is really starting from an automation first culture. So that underpins all the other things that we do because it allows the ability with automation, it allows things to be repeatable. With using infrastructure as code, it allows things to be auditable. Those values underpin the agility that we want to generate in customer environments, but also it's another core tenet that allows us to maintain security, right? Because you can respond rapidly to emerging events, to a patch that you need to apply. So I think really if you take it down to core values, it's automation and it's sort of infrastructure as code.
I like that. And when we talk about infrastructure as code, are we thinking CloudFormation, Terraform, tools like that?
Yeah, and so I'm going to answer that a little bit differently, right? So those are two popular tools in that space, but really the way that we show up for customers isn't us bringing our favorite tools to bear necessarily. Sometimes we do make recommendations, but we're going to meet customers where they're at. Like if they're a Terraform shop, if they're a CloudFormation shop, we're happy to align to that. If they don't have any infrastructure automation in place, we'll help them make that decision as well. But usually most customers have an idea of what they want to use, and we align to that.
When we think about DevOps, you know, people have different opinions, people have different approaches. Mm-hmm. At Caylent, how do we approach DevOps as a practice?
There's a core underpinning of making sure that we're starting from first principles like infrastructure as code and automation, because we always want things to be repeatable. We don't want there to be manual steps in the process. So with that as a baseline, then it's also about making sure that there's a team atmosphere, right? So that we're understanding what the needs are from a development team. There's not silos of organizations. We want to make sure that we're listening to both what the product organization needs, the development organization, taking security teams needs into mind, and then sort of bringing that all together for a holistic solution.
And that's important, right? Because you have different teams that have shared responsibility and overlap, and being able to be a good partner to, say, security can sometimes bring tension with development that wants to go and build the latest, greatest thing. So how do we balance that? How do we make sure we're communicating to all the right people, all the right folks, and getting everybody on board for some of this kind of DevOps culture stuff?
Well, part of it is just realizing those conversations need to take place, right? Sometimes development teams will move ahead not thinking about security because it's not what they're being asked for on the product roadmap. It's not a feature that they're delivering. So making sure that that's still in mind is a key to the conversation, knowing when to bring security into the conversation to make sure that they're aligned. But also, we think about security as a continuous process, just like product development. So making sure we have the right security guardrails in place in the first place, knows that we're staying within the lanes that security is defined. So having that ability to be agile within certain guardrails is something that lets product teams move more quickly, knowing that they're keeping up with what the security team is going to be concerned about.
I like that, and especially when you can build in the automation. You know, what kind of infrastructure as code tools do we typically use in these situations?
Yeah, I mean, Terraform and CloudFormation are by far the most mature in the market, and so we see a fairly equal distribution between the two. Some of it's personal preference, and in some cases with Terraform, it's that the customer is automating a lot of different environments, whether they be on-prem, other cloud providers, and AWS, and they prefer that common vernacular, that common syntax across the different properties that they're automating. But those are by far the two leaders in the market.
Awesome. I'm a particular fan of CDK, and I've loved seeing the development of CDK over the last few years. I know we've done a little bit of that so far.
That's a fair call out, but it's also something that we're seeing a lot more of. So to be fair, that was an omission of the preponderance of past experience, but there's definitely a trend towards CDK as we're thinking that puts the infrastructure automation even closer to the hands of developers, because it's the natural extension of the languages that they're already writing in. So it still fits with that idea of guardrails and for moving fast, and it's potentially moving even faster since developers are in control of their own destiny with that.